This is breaking news.
Of America organization, Fernando Mateo. We are here to share some details about a horrific murder that took place here on Friday evening, and to stand in solidarity with the thousands of hard-working New Yorkers who earn their living in our neighborhood bodegas. On Friday evening, just after 11 p.m., an innocent New Yorker, a 67-year-old man who was a fixture at this bodega, was shot and killed without provocation inside this store. At this time, we believe the motive to be robbery. Assistant Chief Kenny will provide additional details surrounding this crime, as well as other crimes we think are connected with the suspect wanted in this murder. But first, let me say, we are all outraged by this act of violence. Each of us here grew up in this city. We know what the neighborhood bodega means. For some of us, it was like an extension of our living rooms. The clerk behind the counter was like family. It doesn't surprise me that people have left cards, candles, and flowers here. At the height of COVID, these frontline workers delivered for all of us, both big and small. We haven't forgotten that. And we are disgusted this innocent man was taken in such a cowardly act. Our hearts go out to the family of the victim and everyone who is grieving this senseless loss. I will now turn it over to Chief Joe Kenny.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm Chief Joe Kenny from the Detective Bureau. Good afternoon. On Friday, March 3rd, at approximately 11:28 p.m., a robbery occurred inside of 201 East 81 Street Deli, called the Day Owner Deli. During this robbery, an employee of the business, an identified male, 67 years old, was shot one time in the head, causing his death. What our investigation shows so far, the perpetrator arrived on the scene driving a dark-colored scooter, wearing a white, full-bodied Tyvek suit and a dark-colored face mask. A witness states this male entered the store, pointed a gun at him, and announces a robbery. This witness is ordered to lay on the floor and empty out his pockets. The perpetrator then turns his attention to the homicide victim, the employee who was working at the deli as a clerk. He begins to strike this employee on the head with the butt of his gun. While the perpetrator is assaulting this victim, the witness is able to flee the location, and while he's doing so, he hears a shot come from inside of the deli. The shooter now exits the location, gets on his dark-colored scooter, and flees northbound on 1st Avenue. Our victim was discovered behind the counter with a single gunshot wound to his head. He did not survive his injuries. This homicide robbery is connected to 3 other robberies that have occurred in Brooklyn and in the Bronx. The other incidents are included in citywide robbery pattern number 29. The description of the perpetrator will be the same in all 4 of these incidents. A tall, dark-skinned male, slim build, wearing a white, full-body Tyvek suit, similar to what painters wear while they're working. He uses a dark-colored face mask to conceal his face. He's armed with a black semi-automatic pistol, and he utilizes a dark scooter to leave the scene during all of the incidents. The first incident occurs in the confines of the 7-0 precinct in Brooklyn. On Saturday, 2/25, at 10:35 p.m., a male wearing a white Tyvek suit and face mask enters 1501 Foster Avenue, the Sunset Bagel Shop, and places a food order. He announces a robbery, removes a sum of money and several cell phones. He then flees the location and is seen later on driving that same dark scooter. 3 days later, we have incident number 2 in the 9-4 precinct on Wednesday, 3/1, 11:15 in the morning. A male wearing the same white Tyvek suit, same dark face mask, arrives at 627 Manhattan Avenue, the Super Deli. He enters the location, pretends to make a purchase, then produces a gun and announces a robbery. He steals a sum of cash and cigarettes. He flees on Bedford Avenue, once again on the same dark-colored scooter. This is where the robbery pattern is initially started and put together. Then we have this incident here in the 19th precinct that occurs on Friday, March 3rd. Then another robbery 22 minutes later after this homicide in the Bronx, 4-2 precinct on Friday, 3-3 at 11:50 hours. The perpetrator, still wearing the same white Tyvek suit, wearing the same dark-colored face mask, on the same dark-colored scooter, arrives at 851 Melrose Avenue in the Bronx. He enters the Deli, pulls out a gun, announces a robbery, steals a sum of U.S. currency, and once again, cigarettes. The male then flees the location on the same dark scooter. As stated earlier, we believe this individual is responsible for all of these crimes. We are asking anyone with information to please call our tip line at 1-800-577-TIPS. A reward up to $10,000 will be given for information resulting in an arrest and conviction of this perpetrator. All tips can be made anonymously. Thank you. I'll pass it off to Chief Madrick.
Thank you, Chief Kenny, and good afternoon, everyone. We were here last Wednesday, not specifically here, but in Queens, discussing a very similar type of incident where a person was robbed. And during that press conference, I made a plea to store owners as a condition of employment to have people remove their masks. And 4 days later, someone enters a store late at night with a mask, with a hood, Tyvek suit, and rubber gloves on. And now we have a person, store clerk, a hardworking, innocent person who's gone now. I'm gonna double down on that plea again for one, store owners, commercial establishments, especially if you're using a buzzer system. In some common sense approach, have people as a condition of employment show their face, remove their mask, so that you know you're safe. But then again, I'll put it to all New Yorkers. We have an obligation to make sure that these store owners feel safe as well. So as a sign of a peace offering, a sign of safety to those store workers, when we walk in, we should take down our mask. We should let them know that they're not in any danger, any harm, that we're customers and we're here to help them. Again, once you show the store owner who you are and that everything's okay, if you don't feel comfortable in the store without your mask on due to the amount of people in there, by all means, put it back on. But we should be helping one another feel safe. We just talked about this last week, and now we talk about this with a person who's gone. We have to work together, New York, to keep this city safe. We have to work together as a community, as businesses, as a police department. We can't keep this city safe, but we must do it together. Thank you. And now I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Fernando Mateo from the United Bodegas of America Association. And I want to thank Fernando and everybody who came out here from the United Bodegas of America to show support, not only for this store, this particular business and this store clerk, but for all the store owners who are working, putting their lives on the line. Fernando, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Commissioner Caban. Thank you, Chief, for being here. This is what we're talking about, guys. This is what we're talking about. This is what we don't want. This is what the chief is talking about. Not about this and an old lady with a cane walking into a bodega, or a senior walking into a bodega that feels unsafe because of his health walking without a mask. We're talking about all those people that hoodie up, that cover their entire face so that the police department cannot identify them when they commit a crime. These criminals have gotten so comfortable that they're doing it repeatedly. And things get out of hand and people are killed. I think that PD has enough on their hands trying to keep us safe. We as bodega owners need to do whatever we can do to make their job easier. And if that means putting a buzzer at your door and letting people coming in that you cannot see know that they're not allowed in without removing their mask, then that's what it's gonna be. Safety first is what we tell them. This man that worked in this deli back here, in this bodega back here,
was doing it to support his family, like all of these men and women that own bodegas and closed down their bodegas today to be here. Because this is how important this is. This is crucial to our city. And it's not only bodegas. Marshall's in Harlem has lost $4 million with looters this year. And they all go in looking the same way, covering their faces. It's about all the small businesses in New York. You know, we need to take our city back. And we need to do what has to be done to make that happen. So for those that want to maybe criticize what we are asking for, we invite them to come and work one day or one night in a bodega and live what these people are living so that they understand that we are not trying to pick on anybody. We are just trying to get back home alive and safe to our families. So once again, Chief, Commissioner, Chief, the department, from our hearts, we thank you for being here and showing us that you care, showing us that you really mean business, and we appreciate it. And this is what we're going to put on our doors, letting people know. Take it off, and once we can identify who you are, put it back on if you'd like. But we want to see you, and we're going to tell cab drivers to do the same. Don't allow anyone that you cannot see in your car, because once they're in there, they're going to rob you, they're going to kill you, they're going to take your life. So this is an all-out effort to keep our city safe. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate it. And I'll give it right back to you, Chief. Thank you.
All right, we're going to open it up to a couple of questions. We'll start off with Kimberly Richardson from APC.
Someone like this, the average person that is up to good and not up to no good, when you ask them to take their mask off, they're going to oblige, of course. This dude, like, he's hell-bent on doing what he's going to do. So is it realistic that someone like this, he's not going to take his mask off, he's going to open fire and shoot? So the whole mask thing, in this case, it seems kind of silly.
Well, like I said, it's a common sense approach. It may work in some stores, it may not work in some stores. Some stores have buzzer systems. Some stores, you know, they let you in, they open the door. It's a common sense approach. If it's a store that's wide open with a door wide open, of course it's going to be more difficult. But again, a common sense approach. And what I didn't say, and what we said last week, is we're offering crime prevention surveys to all the stores as well. So one of the recommendations of the survey may be to, hey, after a certain time, put the buzzer on, keep the door closed, and let an employee allow people in. Our workers have to do what they need to do to keep themselves safe.
At this point, is there any rhyme or reason as to where he's hitting and why he's hitting?
Like I said, at this point, the pattern was established. He's in 3 different boroughs. So right now there is no rhyme or reason. We just know that he is utilizing the scooter, which means he gets around pretty freely. He's utilizing the scooter. We have him fleeing 3 of the locations on the scooter. And after the first incident in the 7-0 precinct, we have him later on that afternoon on that same scooter.
All right, we're going to go with Chrissy, 1010 wins.
Hi, for Fernando Mateo or anybody else, is there any word on more businesses trying to implement the buzzer system, trying to make it a more proactive approach other than the mask policy? And are you planning on maybe any consequences for people who are not lowering their masks?
Well, at this particular time, we're offering $5,000 reward on top of their $10,000 to capture this guy. But what we've done in bodegas is implemented the Safe Haven bodega. Safe Haven bodegas have buttons to buzz you in and buzz you out. This way we prevent things like Leandro, who got killed, Lisandro, that got killed in the Bronx, the kid many years ago. So there are a lot of bodegas now that have buzzers coming in and out. And I just want to add to the silliness that Kimberly asked about. It's not silly, Kimberly. This is real. This is lives. You know, us asking people to take their masks off is not a silly thing. It's a real thing. And it's a thing that is going to help them stay alive. So we really appreciate, you know, getting the word out. You're going into a small business, into a bodega, be ready to take your masks off. Some bodegas will not allow you to come in. Some will, but a lot of them will not. And it's only to keep themselves safe.
And is there any more information on the victim? Do we have any more information?
We'll get that to you. We'll get that to you. Rocco from the Daily News.
Chief Kenny, Chief, is it clear from your investigation, which might include video from inside, how exactly he was shot? Did he fight back? Did the gun go off? No, he was being and he put his hand up and then to prevent the shot.
At this point, the witness that we have, there's unfortunately no video inside of the bodega at this point. The information that we are getting, he was being pistol whipped. We do have an injury to his left hand, which could indicate the fact that he put his hand up, tried to defend himself, and the gun may have went off then.
All right, this will be, guys.
Chief, what are the biggest challenges you have?
No, I wasn't doing anything. Adam.
In all four cases, you may have mentioned the first two, it's hard for me to hear. Did the suspect, wear the same getup in all four cases? And the first two, the 25th and the 28th, did he display a gun in those first two where the pattern was established? And secondarily, when it comes to the fatal shooting, is there any reason why there was a shooting in one location, whereas in the other three there was not?
Well, as far as the attire during all four incidents is exactly the same. The method is exactly the same. He's wearing a Tyvek suit. So you have the first incident in Brooklyn. It happens. A wanted flyer was generated immediately and passed out to the officers on patrol. A couple of days later, we have the second incident occurs in Brooklyn. We have Central Robbery Division goes through every robbery every day. They make the connection by seeing the Tyvek suit. The pattern's established immediately, and that's how we started that pattern. The other two incidents, obviously this homicide here and the incident that occurred in the Bronx, once again, the Tyvek suit. So that's why it's all being tied in. As far as why he shot this victim here, couldn't really tell you. It just appears maybe while he was pistol whipping the subject, the gun may have gone off.
All right, this is our last question. Tina Moore.
We do have one image captured from a 7-Eleven after the 7-0 incident. It's not quality enough for facial recognition, but you know, as stated earlier, Mr. Mateo stated it very eloquently. Between the mask, the suit, the hoodie, the whole nine, we just were having a hard time identifying him. We're doing extensive video canvases all the way from Brooklyn to the Bronx, back over to Brooklyn, and we haven't had any luck in the identification yet. That's why we're hoping somebody from the community calls the tip line and helps us out.
All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time and attention. Thank you.
Thank you.
Outstanding job, Sergeant.
Folks, we start making our way up.